Welcome, everybody, to the Word on Woodward presented by Rehmann. Empower your purpose with Rehmann. Wherever you're watching today, make sure you like, subscribe, and turn on your live notifications so you don't miss a single second of the Word on Woodward every Wednesday starting at noon. We've got a great lineup of guests for you guys, as always. Ken Kale is going to join us for the mailbag, and we've got interviews with recently retired Red Wings goaltender Jimmy Howard, Max Bultman of The Athletic, MLB.com's Jason Beck, and Hockey Hall of Famer Larry Murphy is going to join Art for the headliner later in the show. With that being said, let's get this show on the road and bring in my co-host, Art Regner. Art, how's it going today? You feeling good?
I'm feeling great. I'm playing with the sun here. If I lean a certain way, see that?
I like that. I like that.
So I'm a little uneasy because I like to move around, but the sun is wreaking havoc with me. And I do not have any aluminum foil, so I cannot counter the sun. You know, Mother Nature just playing games with me today, Daniela.
But it's going to be an interesting show then, Art, because you've got the sun in your face, and I am giving the crew the silent treatment. So even though they're talking to me,
I know.
I'm not talking to them.
I thought you were gonna, do this, kind of hand signed today, do this show, but. Yeah, I'm surprised you're even speaking. I mean, you were one fired up young lady during the pre-show meeting. You would not talk to anybody.
I'm not that fired up. It's just we're going to see how long I can keep this going. It probably won't be that long. But
the silent treatment. I do not want to get on your bad side. Trust me. It is not a good side to be on.
I think it would be impossible to give you the silent treatment, just basing things on how much you talk. So with that being said, let's get into the Big Three presented by our friends at Chevy. And our first topic of today's Big Three is a Red Wings update. And a lot is going to fall under this Red Wings update, Art. The first thing we're going to talk about is that Robby Fabbri and Adam Erne practiced yesterday coming off of the COVID-19 protocol. Some of the other players also came off of the COVID-19 protocol list, but Adam Erne and Robby Fabbri were in full practice yesterday and are expected to be in the lineup tonight. Robby Fabbri has a goal in the 2 games that he played before entering the COVID protocol, and it looks like he'll be getting some time on the wing, Art, when the Red Wings wanted to make him the second line center. So what do you think about that, and how do you think Robby Fabbri is going to adjust to getting back in the swing of things?
Well, I think Fabbri talked to the media yesterday, and he said, yeah, I am going to be playing wing. Jeff Blashill and I talked about it just to ease him in a little bit more. You know, he has less responsibility, especially defensively, as a center. I think it's a good move. He's also on the power play unit as well. Adam Ernie's in there. John Merrill and Sam Gagne clear COVID protocol today. The Red Wings aren't having a morning skate because they play at 5:30 today. So they're cleared to play. Whether they play or not will be a game time decision. I'm sure Fabbri's in. I'm sure Ernie's in. It's against his old club, the Tampa Bay Lightning. Gagne and Merrill, I guess it just depends on how they feel. Because they have been working. The one thing that, we're learning all different kinds of things about COVID protocol. And what I want to say is that the 5 guys that are on COVID protocol, they could all kind of, once they were cleared and coming out of it, I guess, they could practice together. They could skate. So Fabbri's been skating since Friday. And so he's been on the ice. Yesterday was his first full practice with the Red Wings. I think it's really, really a good move. I think that, they obviously need him. And don't forget, coming on Friday when the Red Wings will play next, Zadina is scheduled to come off too. I know he's chomping at the bit. So getting these 5 guys back can only help the Red Wings.
As exciting as it is to get players back, Art, we also have some unfortunate news for the Red Wings, and that Tyler Brutusi is out with an upper body injury. He's expected to miss somewhere between 4 and 6 games. The key is he's not traveling with the team, so it would be difficult to get him there in the middle of a road trip, as Coach Blashill expressed when he addressed the media yesterday. And Brutusi is currently leading the team with 5 goals, and he's only behind Dylan Larkin, who has 9 points. Tyler Brutusi has 7 points. So he's really been playing well. What do you think about the fact that Tyler Brutusi isn't going to be in the lineup? This is going to be a huge loss for the Red Wings.
Well, it is. It's obviously a huge loss. He's consistently has been their best forward all season long. He provides the grit. He provides the sandpaper. Thank heaven, though, that Fabre and Zadina at the end of this week, which is only a couple of days away, they're goal scorers, though. They're coming back. They should provide some offense. I think that's a good sign. John Merrill, don't forget, too, it's his birthday today. Happy birthday to John Merrill. And also Matthew Dandino, former Red Wing. I love Matthew Dandino. Got a lot of great Matthew Dandino stories that we will save for another time. But with all that said, if you look at it, I think that some goal scoring is coming back. Now, look, you're going to miss Brutusi. There's no doubt. Blashill said he's out for at least 4 games. If they can figure out a way, and I don't know if they send Redbird 2 or 3, whatever it is now, up to Detroit to pick him up and have him fly to Nashville for games 5 and 6 of this 6-game road trip, that would be great. But, and I'm not even going to say, I guess the good news, if you're going to look at any kind of good news, it's not, the bad news is Bertuzzi's gone. That's just bad. You can't spin that any other way. But Fabre and Zadina, 2 goal scorers, are coming back. So hopefully the offense that they're going to miss from Bertuzzi, those guys, and it could be a slow because they're coming off the COVID list. They couldn't do anything for 14 days. That they will slowly, pick up that offense, and maybe Bertuzzi will not be missed quite as much, but it's a huge loss.
Yeah, and just a reminder to fans, obviously, Tyler Bertuzzi cannot take a commercial flight due to the fact that if he did, he'd be under COVID protocol, so then he would be unavailable for the game. So it just makes it a bit of a sticky situation.
We wouldn't see him till April. Yeah,
right.
Yeah. If Tyler wants a prolonged vacation, and I know he doesn't, just hop on a commercial flight, buddy, and you're not going to be playing for a while.
Yeah, exactly. So that's what makes the situation a little bit stickier than it might be if they were at home. But yes, big loss. And we're going to move on to our third topic of this first topic, because like I said, there's a lot of Red Wings news to cover today. And it's the fact that Grand Rapids is starting their season on Friday. So we saw the Red Wings making some moves, including reassigning Chase Pearson, Dennis Chalowski, and Gus Lindstrom to Grand Rapids. Now, none of these are huge surprises, Art. You see that Dylan McElrath and Caden Fulcher are assigned to the taxi squad. The big thing I want to talk about is Michael Rasmussen being sent to Grand Rapids. We know that he was playing for the Red Wings the past few games, and he's been playing really well. And Coach Blashill was asked about it yesterday. We mentioned that he talked to the media. He was asked about Michael Rasmussen specifically, and here's what he had to say.
I thought he took a step forward. I thought he did a good job in the games. He did a real solid job. And, he had pretty good opportunity. He was playing on decent lines and was on the power play. But I thought he took a step forward. I think, I think the quickness with which he makes decisions offensively and defensively have to still come to a level where he does it a little bit quicker. And a lot of times that comes with confidence. And so it just comes over time. And so I think the advantage of going down to GR is being in those spots lots and growing that confidence so that his decisions with the puck get quicker, his decisions defensively without the puck get quicker. So the next chance he gets, he's just that little bit quicker thinking, I guess is the best way to put it. So, but I thought he's taken steps in the right direction. There aren't very many players his age in the NHL. That's a reality of it. And, I know he got drafted fairly high, but the reality is there's not many players his age in the NHL. So, this is to me a real normal course of development for him. The only difference for him is he had that year in between junior and the American League where he played for us, where, I think in a perfect world, he would have played the American League then. So, I know he wants to get back up here. I know he's going to go down and work hard and go down. Hopefully he looks like he doesn't belong down there, meaning he looks so good that we're calling him back up.
I like that, Art. Hopefully he looks like he doesn't belong down there, meaning that the Red Wings are going to have to pull him back up so he can play in the NHL. I thought Michael Rasmussen did a really good job in the games that he did play. You could really feel his net front presence. He was in the right spots all the time, and he definitely looked like he took a step up in the right direction, as Coach Blashill said. What do you think, I should say, of the move to send Michael Rasmussen to Grand Rapids to gain that confidence?
Well, they want him to play. I mean, certainly if you look at all the guys that were sent down to Grand Rapids, except for Michael Rasmussen, none of them have played. None of them have played in the game. So obviously with GR starting, Pearson needs to play. Cholo needs to play. Gus Lindstrom needs to play. Kevin Boyle is the Red Wings' third goaltender. Nothing against Caden Fulcher, but Kevin Boyle hasn't played, so he needs to play in games if called upon. If something does, heaven forbid, happen to Grice or Bernier, and I know Bernier's a little bit banged up right now. I would expect that Kevin Boyle would be the guy the Red Wings would put in net, and so they just all need to play. As far as Michael Rasmussen goes, I think you saw his talent on display. I know in the last game, he was just, he was really, really, really engaged with the Florida Panthers. They were all over him. He's a big guy, but his net front presence, there were a couple of times where he tipped a puck or his reach and he just didn't get the puck up over the goalie's pad. I mean, it's coming, it's there. And I think that in Rasmussen's case, they just want him to play and play in every situation. He is going to be, for lack of a better term, the Dylan Larkin of the Grand Rapids Griffins. He's going to go down there. He's going to play in every situation. He's going to get a lot of ice time. He's going to be playing because he's one of their best players, Grand Rapids' best players. He's going to be playing with their top forwards, and there's some good veteran leadership down there. I know that he really has assimilated himself into Grand Rapids. He liked playing for the Griffins. They had that big Post Malone conference or concert that they went to last year, and Michael was the kingpin of that thing. So it's not that bad of a thing for him, because they just want him to play. They want him to work on things. Look, I've always called Michael Rasmussen the most serious 21-year-old in the world, and he is. I'm sure as he went down and they talked to him, they said, "You're close. This is what you have to work on. You can bet, as my father used to say, dollars to donuts, whatever that means, that Michael Rasmussen is definitely going down there and working on exactly what the Red Wings want him to work on." And, I would expect, and Blashill, as Blash said, and injuries and COVID, all that stuff plays into it. I think, it's not the last you've seen of Michael Rasmussen in the red and white this year for sure. But the move makes solid sense, especially since Grand Rapids is playing. Real quickly, I know I'm really going along here, but what I want to say is that, and I tried to ask Blashill this, and maybe I should sort of saved it for Steve if he ever takes my phone calls, is that I think you're going to see a lot of movement between the taxi squad and Grand Rapids for guys that are on the taxi squad who have sat for a while, even though they're practicing them with the Red Wings, to get them into games. Grand Rapids is going to start playing. Hopefully their season goes on without a hitch. So I think I call it a revolving door policy. When we had Steve on WOW, he didn't really want to say that, but I think you're going to see a lot of movement. So I wouldn't read a whole lot into it, except if they're going to GR, they're going to GR to play in games because they haven't been playing on games on the taxi squad. That's pretty much it in a nutshell, which I probably could have said about 10 minutes ago.
Probably, but that's okay, Art. We're going to talk a lot more about this throughout the show with Max Bultman and Larry Murphy, and of course with Ken Kale, who's going to join us for the mailbag in just a little bit. Right now, let's move on to our second topic and some Tigers news. The Tigers had their virtual media week last week, which normally media week is so much fun. The guys are going all around Detroit, meeting with people in the community, but of course it had to be virtual this week. We still got to talk with a lot of the players, and Wilson Ramos was one of them, the Tigers' new catcher that they signed in free agency to a 1-year, $2 million deal. He talked a lot about why he was excited to come to Detroit, and this is what stood out to me.
I know Miggy from long time ago, more than 10 years ago, when we play in Winter Bowl in Venezuela. And, working out right now with him, we got good support each other. And that's why, I'm happy right now to sign with the Tigres because, feel really good working out with him. And also, that relationship helped me to make that decision to go with Tigers.
So Ramos expressing how great his relationship is with Miguel Cabrera, and that has to be great just knowing that he already has built a relationship with someone like Miggy, both of them veteran guys that can really lead this young Tigers team.
Yeah, I mean, I love it. First of all, he looks like he's in great shape, and I like the fact that he called the Tigers the Tigres too.
Amazing, right?
I thought that was cool because every time they have Latin American night, they wear that jersey that says Tigres on it, and I have talked to the guys at Fox. They're always bombarded with calls, people saying, you spelled Tigers wrong. How can they get it wrong, So, Tigres, Tigers, whatever, it's all the same to me. But I think it's a wonderful addition. I know we're going to talk to Jason Beck about it later. But, offensively, this guy can hit. And, and I think that, defensively, I think he's fine. I think he's really fine. He might not bring the dimension Rehmann brought last year, but he does bring an offensive dimension, which unfortunately, if Rehmann could have brought, maybe he would still be a Tiger. But I like this pickup. Who isn't a buddy with Miggy, especially if you're from Venezuela? I mean, he knows everybody. Miggy is like the ambassador of Major League Baseball. You know how they have, like Jerry West or Michael Jordan is the little figurine of on NBA, the silhouette kind of guy. Miggy should be it for Major League Baseball. He really should. I mean, when you see MLB, it should be Miguel Cabrera. That's how effusive he is and his personality and all that. So I think it's a good pickup. I'm excited.
I'm excited too, Art. You mentioned that he looked like he was in good shape. He said during that press conference that he's lost around 30 pounds in the offseason. So I'm definitely excited to see what Ramos is going to bring to spring training along with the rest of our Tigers. In spring training, Art, exactly 2 weeks from now, on February 17th, pitchers and catchers will be having their first workout in spring training, which seems crazy that it's only 2 weeks away, but I'm really amped up for this spring training. And then Monday, February 22nd will be the first full squad workout. And the best thing about this spring training, Art, is that there's so many stories to follow heading into it. The Tigers have so many young pitchers. We know Casey Mize, Tarek Skubal being the biggest two that we're going to be keeping our eye on, along with Matt Manning as well. And then, of course, you've got some newcomers like Wilson Ramos that we're going to be watching. And then there's Jake Rogers that could be making a play for the second catcher spot. So everything is going to be really, really competitive in this spring training.
Right, Grayson Grider's going to be, he's going to make a little bit of a pitch too. Yeah, he definitely will be. This is how I think, I think that what's really fascinating is this new coaching staff, because I can see, the Tigers PR people, going out to Lakeland and saying, okay, as long as you're social distance, we're going to have a press conference. AJ Hinch is going to stand at this microphone here, and you guys can fire some questions at him as long as you're 10 feet away, or we have a mic set up for you. But as soon as Chris Fetter walks out of the dugout, all those media people, trust me, are going to gravitate to him, because Chris Fetter, I think it's going to be fascinating to watch how he interacts with these Tigers young pitchers. And, when we had AJ Hinch on Wow, he talked about this. Chris Fetter is not that far removed in age from a lot of the Tigers pitchers. So there's not that huge generational gap. Plus, he's into the metrics. He knows it. He studies it, but he doesn't completely live by it. So I think the quicker that Chris Fetter gels with the Tiger pitching staff, and I think they're doing it already. How many Tiger pitchers have we talked to during this offseason, Daniela, that have told us? The guy, maybe he's calling me too much, you know what I mean? He's constantly calling me on the phone, but they like that. They care. So I really think what I'm going to watch is how this Tiger team meshes to this managerial staff, which is a little bit different. They're a little bit more, I hate this term, a little bit more new school than old school, but they're kind of somewhere in between. I think that's going to be fascinating to see how that takes shape.
It will be fascinating. And you mentioned all of the young pitchers. For our third and final topic of the big three, I want to let all of our fans know a way that you can kind of follow not only some of our pitching prospects, but other young prospects in the Tigers organization. We're all excited about the Tigers farm system, which just placed 5 prospects in MLB Pipeline's top 25 rankings heading into the 2021 season. And here's a great way to learn more about them. As I mentioned, they'll be knocking on the big league door very soon. So you'll want to tune in to Fox Sports Detroit on Monday at 6 p.m. for the premiere of The Road to Detroit 2021, a 30-minute special put together by the Tigers in-house production team. Featured players include including Spencer Torkelson, Casey Mize, Riley Green, and many, many others. So you're going to get to follow the journey of some of our big name prospects and what it's going to take for them to eventually become Tigers. Very cool. So make sure you guys are checking that out. Again, that's Monday at 6 p.m. on Fox Sports Detroit. That does it for today's Big Three presented by Chevy. Chevy cares. That is why Chevy Clean dealers are committed to using enhanced vehicle cleaning measures with CDC-approved cleansers before delivering your vehicle after purchase or service. So when you're ready, you can find new roads with confidence. And we're going to go ahead and get right into our mailbag delivered to you by Little Caesars and bring in our first guest of today's show, which is your Red Wings radio play-by-play announcer, Ken Kale. Ken, it's great to see you again. As always, thank you so much for joining us today.
Yeah, good to be here, Daniela and Art, and I'm in the lovely concourse here at Little Caesars Arena. Early start, so trying to get an early start to my notes and everything today, but great to be on the WOW Show with you again.
Yeah, you've got the best background of all of us today. It looks great.
I mean, Ken, you're doing the game on the radio, and you're still in a shirt and tie. You are my hero. You are my idol. I mean, you couldn't look better.
You got to look good for radio, Art. What can I tell you?
Yeah.
That's why I polish my shoes.
That's why I got into it.
That's what I always say. Look good, feel good. It'll make you call a better game.
Absolutely.
All right, let's move on to your first question because we have some good ones from our Red Wings fans. Alan from Waterford asks, we're getting some help with guys returning from the COVID list. Do you think they will be eased back in or thrown right back into their old roles? And Ken, that one is for you.
Well, one of the questions, I guess, when you miss so many games like some of these guys on the COVID protocol list is how much in game shape are they going to be? I think it's going to take them 2 or 3 games to get back to where they were before they went on the COVID list. So I think if you're Jeff Blashill, you have to tell these guys, look, we need you. I mean, I was just going over some of the scoring for the Red Wings. They're only averaging 2 goals per game. They've scored 20 goals in 10 games played. And 16 of those goals have come from just 4 players. And those 4 players are Larkin, Mantha, Brutusi, and Bobby Ryan. So some of these other guys are going to have to find the back of the net if this Red Wing team wants to win some hockey games. And you can't rely on all 4 of those guys. And now with the loss of Tyler Brutusi, who's going to step it up? So to me, I think the coaching staff wants these guys to come in and make sure that they're ready to go, get in game shape as fast as they can, and start popping that puck into the net on a regular basis.
Art, I'm going to move right into your question because this is a really good follow-up to that. And it's Virginia from Farmington who asks, now that the lineup is starting to get back to normal, do you think that the special teams woes from last week will be behind them?
Well, you have to hope so. I mean, losing Bertuzzi, who I think out of his goals, I think almost every one of them except one were on the power play. Yes. Robbie Fabre and Philip Zadina should help that power play. They could turn it around. Now, for whatever reason, and I know Kenny can attest to this, it seems like, and we've covered this team maybe longer than we care to admit, the Red Wing power play, even when they had the legendary Red Wing teams of the past, seemed to be feast or famine for them. Either they are clicking at a torrid pace or they're doing nothing. And I don't know why that is. I think, as Brett Hall told me many years ago, it's all up here, man. It's all up here. So I just think at this point, the power play especially just looks out of sync, out of sorts. Guys are not comfortable with it. Dylan said that last week. Nobody wants the puck on their stick. Guys are afraid to make plays. It's just a disorganized mess. But I think a lot of it has to do when you take 2 high-end quality forwards like a Fabre and a Zadina out of that mix. Ken just said 4 players have scored a majority of the Red Wings goals and they've only scored 20. Well, a lot of that has to do with the fact that Fabre and Zadina haven't been there. And so I would expect the goal scoring to pick up. I would expect that the special teams will get better just by addition. Although Bertuzzi, as I said earlier, is a miss, I think yes. I think with Fabre in there, who has a knack to score power play goals, and I also think Zadina, who, trust me, I like to Phil a lot, as I think most people know. That kid, with everything that he's put up lately and weird injuries and all that kind of stuff, when he hits the ice, hopefully on Friday night when he's cleared to play, you're going to see a guy, and I think Red Wing fans will like this. He will shoot from everywhere. If he could shoot from the Red Wing bench while he was sitting on it, he would. That's how much he wants to score. And so I'm looking forward to it. So yes, Virginia, not only is there a Santa Claus, there's a better power play coming your way too.
I'd like to add this, if I could.
Go ahead.
I'd like to add this about the power play. And I know a lot of Red Wing fans have been giving the power play some grief. And one of the problems that the Red Wings are having right now, and we mentioned it, is that they're not scoring enough goals. And what that means is if you look like a team like St. Louis, who has given up 11 or 12 power play goals already this season, the thing about St. Louis is that they score a lot more goals than the Red Wings. And when you're a team that's not scoring, that penalty kill has to be almost at 100%, because if you're not scoring any goals and you give up a couple of power play goals, you're going to lose the hockey game. So one of two things can happen. Either the penalty kill for the Red Wings has to get way, way better, or if it doesn't, then the Red Wings need to find a way to get more pucks to the back of the net and not just average 2 goals per game.
And like we said, hopefully these players coming off of the COVID list can help them produce more offensively. And we did talk about this too, that I wanted to mention. These guys were able to skate together come a certain point. So the guys that were on the COVID protocol list have a couple skates under their belt. It won't just be them hitting the ice for a game, because I know that could be pretty tough on them. And we're going to move on to question 3, Ken. And this one is for you. And it's Helen from Ann Arbor who asked, was bummed to see Rasmussen get assigned to Grand Rapids. Do you think he could be back up with the Wings later this season?
Oh, no doubt about it. And I know you guys already covered Michael Rasmussen in detail. And I just like to say that I agree with Jeff Blash on the fact that he has improved, and his game is way better now than it was when he first came into the National Hockey League as a rookie. And he just needs a little more polish. And the other thing, too, is where's he going to fit in right now, especially at the center ice position when you get these guys from COVID coming back into the lineup? So, other than being a healthy scratch, it's great for him to go down and play some more and play in all different types of situations. But what I really like about him is that his skating seems to improve quite a bit. He doesn't look out of place at the center ice position. If he can just find ways to redirect pucks like we know he can in front of the net and be a power play presence, I think that's really going to help him. But he'll get that polish on his game, and he'll work well in the American Hockey League. And no doubt in my mind, before the end of the season, because there are going to be injuries, he'll be called back up.
Ken, I know you have to be pretty excited as well, not only to see what Michael Rasmussen is going to do in Grand Rapids, but just excited that Grand Rapids is starting their season this week.
Absolutely. And I'm happy for the players too, because let's face it, these players want to play. They just don't want to practice all the time. They want to make sure that they get ready. And their goal, obviously, is to someday make it in the National Hockey League and play and be a big part of this Red Wing team. And the only way they're going to do that is if they get that experience at the American Hockey League level. So, yeah, I'm glad. I'm glad for all the people that work behind the scenes in Grand Rapids. I'm glad for my friend Bob Kaiser, who calls the games out there, that he'll be working finally and calling some games. So that'll be a lot of fun for him and for the players.
Yes, it's very exciting. Grand Rapids getting their season underway this Friday. Now we're going to move on to our 4th and final question of today's mailbag. And this is going to go for both of you. Art, you can answer first. Paul from Toledo asks, the Wings had a tough time on the last road trip. What are your predictions for this one coming up? And it's a tough one.
Well, to quote George Kell, the schedule maker hasn't been that kind to the Red Wings this season. They're on this 6-game road trip, and Tampa is the best team in the league. Truly, they are the best team in the league, flat out. Vasilevsky's a stud in net. When you've got McDonough and Sergachev, and then you throw in Victor Hedman, who could be the best defenseman in the league. And then that forward core, they're deep. They are just outstanding. Then you go to Florida, who we saw this past weekend, they're pretty darn good. And then Nashville, where the Red Wings seem to play well in Music City, not so well against Nashville and Detroit. So this is going to be a tough road trip. I would say, and what I'm hoping for, and maybe I'm being overly optimistic because optimism is really, truly my middle name. I would say 3-3 on this trip, perhaps. I think that's the like I said. I mean, I might be And trust me, this is only water. It's not vodka. But
maybe it should be.
Yeah, really, if I'm saying 3-3, you're probably right. But I'm hoping for 3-3. They're going to get guys back. That's going to reinvigorate the Red Wings. These guys from COVID, their teammates, guys that are starters. They're all 5 of these guys are significant, players on the Red Wing roster. So I think that shot of adrenaline. I think it'll get the boys going a little bit. And if they can go 3-3 on this trip, that would be great, because then they come home and then they have a 6-game homestand, which would be something really to build on.
Ken, I think all of us would be happy with 3-3 if the Red Wings return home with that record. And they're definitely going to need to pick up some points if they want to stay in the standings. So how do they do that on this road trip?
Well, that's why you got to play the games, right? And as Paul Woods always says, anytime you start a game, you have a chance to win it, right? It's depending on how you play. I was looking at some stats. The Red Wings haven't won in regulation in Tampa, Florida since 2011, believe it or not. I mean, it's been a long, long time. I think they're 0-13-1 in their last 14 games. So my only hope there is that John Cooper, who's a friend of Jeff Blashill, is going to say, well, I'm going to rest a lot of these players and, maybe throw a bone to the Red Wings and maybe they can win a couple of games. We're such a good team that, hey, we don't need these 4 points. Let Detroit have them and then move on to Florida where maybe they can get a couple of points there and then go to Nashville where the Predators are struggling right now. Their goalkeeping isn't as good as it was when we know back in the day. And Art mentioned the Wings always seem to play Nashville really well in Nashville. And I think they've won 5 of their last 7 games or something like that in Music City. So, got my fingers crossed. I'm hoping John Cooper throws the Red Wings a bone and maybe we can pick up some points and stay in the hunt.
You guys are both extremely optimistic.
You know what? I said 3-3. I think Kenny's talking 5-1.
Exactly.
No.
It's all about the bone, though. You know what I mean? Like if they throw the bone, then they got a chance, right?
I can go. You just set me up, but this is a family show. No way, buddy. I'm not going down that road, Kenny.
Oh man. Oh,
I say here's the thing. I've always said, I call Anthony Mantha. I said, you got to feed the dog the bones so he can score, keep feeding him, let him shoot. And the Red Wings have a good chance to win if he can score and shoot.
You're absolutely right. I mean, with Mantha for sure. Mantha's goal, his own personal goal is 5 shots a game. And if he gets 5 shots a game, he thinks he's going to score a goal or at least have 2 or 3 good scoring opportunities. Mantha's problem is confidence, number one. He just needs to shoot more. I think once you add Filip Zadina, who, as I said, if you could allow him to shoot as he's sitting on the Red Wing bench, he would. I think that is going to get Mantha going a little bit because – and that's why I always tell the BT Express that Zadina has a better shot because I want him to shoot more. And I know it kind of gets him PO'd a little bit. So when I say, because he's going, what do you mean? This kid's just like, he's 20 years old. I'm Big Tony. And it's like, well, shoot more, Big Tony, because this kid shoots. Zadina shoots, and he's a good playmaker. So, I'm looking forward to it. Ken, God love you. 5-1 on the road trip. If the Red Wings come back with 10 points on this thing, I'm gonna, like the old, like a Buddha, I'm gonna rub your stomach for luck or something, buddy, because
there's plenty of stomach here to rub. I'm telling you.
No one has as big a gut as me. I mean, it's Steve used to always pat my gut back in the day and ask me when I was due. So I mean that's.
Well, you guys, we were talking about muffin tops before we got on the show, and Carly said the muffin top is the best part of the muffin. So just remember that.
Okay. All right.
It certainly is.
All right. I'm sure it is.
Oh, man. Well, we're talking about food. So with that, we're going to wrap the mailbag to you by Little Caesars, Ken. Thank you so much. And now that we're hungry, we're going to get a Little Caesars pepperoni cheeser. You get a large pizza topped with classic pepperoni, fresh mozzarella, and a toasted Parmesan and Asiago cheese crust for just $7. Try our no-contact pizza portal or delivery from Little Caesars. We've still got a very busy show for you guys. We're going to catch up with Max Bultman of The Athletic later, Jason Beck of MLB.com, and for the headliner, Larry Murphy is going to join Art. But right now, we're going to catch up with Carly.
It's time for Catching Up with Carly, presented by Meyer. And today, I'm lucky to be joined by Jimmy Howard. Jimmy, you just announced your retirement from the NHL. How's it going?
Well, thanks for having me, Carly. And yeah, it's been pretty surreal here with the last couple of days after announcing it. And just it's been such a tremendous feeling to see, all the fans and everyone, reaching out through social media, all those different platforms, and wishing my family all the best in their, future endeavors. So, thanks, fans.
Absolutely. We loved you, and we still do after 14 seasons here in Detroit. So you finally hung up your skates. Being in the NHL, is obviously not easy being a professional athlete as a whole, both mentally and physically. Did you just know it was time?
Yeah, it was like I've been telling everyone, it was like the first week of December or the end of that week where I was out on the ice. I was working, I was getting ready for the season. I was still optimistic, and then one day it just hit me. I was like, this just isn't fun anymore. I was like, I'm not having fun. I don't want to be hit by pucks anymore. And that's probably a telling sign for a goalie. So, so after that day, I went home. I told my goalie coach, I was like, I got to reevaluate everything, and I haven't been on the ice unless it's with my boys since then.
Well, I mean, that's a good silver lining of it, is being able to spend more time with your family. I'm sure your wife, Rachel, is very excited to have you home. You have 4 little kids, so it must be nice to now just be a dad.
Yeah, it's great. Waking up every single morning and knowing that I can take my boys to school, and then when in the afternoon I'm around to help out with the little. So it's it's been a lot of fun. I've really enjoyed it. I feel like I finally have got my footing here in the household, because before I was gone all the time, and they all had their routine and their rituals together, but now we're making our own, and it's been a lot of fun for me.
That's special, and I know it's been an unprecedented time and an unusual end to the 2019-2020 season for everyone. But what were your thoughts going through that? I know you were talking about early December was when you kind of had that thought, like, I think I'm done. But did the way that the season ended, last season end, affect your playing plans moving forward?
I don't think it affected my playing plans moving forward, because I still had calls from plenty of NHL teams. It was just I was at that point in my career that I've played for one organization. Detroit's the only place I've ever known, and that's a tremendous honor. But another big thing that went into it was I didn't want to leave my family for 6 or 7 months. Where I'd have to be living in a bubble by myself and not be able to see them, only on FaceTime or technology. So, that was, also a deciding factor into why I decided to retire.
All right. I know, and you've had a lot of highlight reel moments in your career, but I want to talk about some of your favorites. Any in particular that stick out to you?
Being drafted by the Wings when I was 19 years old, excuse me, in Nashville in 2003. That was a highlight, to be drafted by an original 16. Didn't know at that point in time that this is where the family was going to end up, but we are sure proud to be Michiganders now. But obviously playing in my first game at the Staples Center against the Kings, and winning 4-2 is a highlight. Being a part of the Cup team in 08 and be able to lift in the Stanley Cup is up over my head, is definitely up there. Also, I can probably sit here and list off a lot more, but when just sitting here chatting with you, those are the first 3 that come to my mind.
I love it. But I do have a question. Let's talk about the opposing teams that you played against. Who is your least favorite player? I guess you could say players. There are a lot in the league to play against.
Whoever was parking their butt right in front of me. Never liked playing against Steve Ott until I actually met him and saw what a great guy he was, and how him and I clicked right away. And a great friendship has, come because, he played for the Wings, but never really enjoyed having him standing in front of me and sticking me. Corey Perry's another one. Met him off the ice. What a great guy he is. But, he's a fierce competitor, and he'd do whatever it took to win. So, those are a couple of the guys there, a couple of examples of, the type of guys that I didn't like to play against. Those were anyone who made my life a living hell every single night, parking the rear end right in front of me. That's who I didn't like.
Speaking of players that'll do anything to win, we see players on the ice sacrificing their bodies to block a shot, help you out. In your playing years, who did that the most?
I had a lot of guys throughout the careers. I don't know why they do it. They don't wear nearly as much equipment as me. They're kind of nuts, and they don't. Their faces weren't always covered up. They either had no mask on, or no visor on, or they had the half shield on. So to this day, like sometimes they, Glennie, Helmer, back in the day, Brad Stewart used to even drop down in the butterfly when he was playing in front of me. But there's a laundry list of guys that have sacrificed their body for me over the years. Why? I have no idea, because I know if I was playing forward defense, I wouldn't be blocking shots from my goal.
If you didn't have those goalie pads on, there's no way.
No chance. I'd be standing in front of one of those shots.
All right, I'm curious though. I mean, this is something that I really think about. Obviously, during the game, it's tough to be a goalie, but when I think about a nerve-wracking goalie for a moment, shootouts and like penalty shots, like there's so much pressure on you during that.
No, I enjoyed that part. That was the part that I thoroughly enjoyed, because making that save for a goalie is the only way. Really, it's like scoring a goal, I guess you can say. Like, even you stop them. Like, I have no idea what it's like to score a goal. I've never scored one in my life, so I have no idea. So that I guess I play out of my own mind. Like, it's sort of like scoring a goal, like stopping them, because it's just one-on-one. So, it's always, a thrill to be able to, get the best of whoever the shooter is.
Yeah, no kidding. Who was the biggest threat in a shootout?
Oh, hands down, Patrick Kane.
Hands down.
Yeah, hands down.
I love it. That was the easiest answer you've given me this entire interview.
Hands down. I mean, he's made a lot of us look stupid over the course of his career. So,
as a kid, did you ever think you'd be in the position that you're in right now? 36 years old, retired from a successful career in the NHL. I mean, that's incredible.
No. I mean, obviously, as a kid, you dream about it when you're playing street hockey, or you're playing on an outdoor rink somewhere. Like, you dream about playing the NHL. You're always, your idols, like, growing up, but you never think it's going to actually come to fruition. Like, so for me, like, it just, looking back on it now, just all the hard work and the sweat that has gone into it, the sacrifices that my family's had to make for me to get better over the years. Like, I don't think I can ever thank them enough.
But I know you're not stepping too far out of the game of hockey. You told me you're going to be coaching 2 of your son's hockey teams. That's amazing. But what kind of coach are you going to be? Are you going to treat your sons as your sons or players? Are you going to be tough on them? How's it going to go?
I think I'm fair. Like, but I'm with that with every single kid. Obviously, with James's team, I'm the head coach, so you sort of have to be. I feel like when you're in the position as a head coach, you're not only teaching them, hockey skills, but you're also teaching them life skills, and simple as listening to the coach, and having to listen to your parents and stuff like that. So I think I'm fair, but with Henry's team, I'm just the assistant, so I like to have fun with them.
Well, that's all I have. But would you like to leave Hockey Town with a message?
I just want to thank all the Red Wing fans over, throughout all my years here in Detroit, and just want to say thank you, cheers, and I wish the organization nothing but the best moving forward.
Well, Jimmy, thank you so much for joining me on Catching Up with Carly, presented by Meyer. Best of luck to you in your retirement. Enjoy that time with your family.
Thanks, Carly.
Thank you so much, Carly and Jimmy. Of course, we wish Jimmy Howard nothing but the best from everybody here on the Word on Woodward. And now we're going to get into Bet You Didn't Know, presented by PointsBet Sportsbook, an official gaming partner of the Detroit Tigers and the Detroit Red Wings. Carly is going to join us for this one. Carly, great interview with Jimmy. It was great to hear from him. And of course, like you said, we wish him nothing but the best.
Absolutely. Great guy and great goalie. It's insane to think 14 seasons with the Red Wings. That's amazing.
Yeah, and he talked about how big of an honor it is to play your whole career with one team. Not very many players can do it, but it's happened quite a bit here in Hockeytown. So again, congratulations to Jimmy Howard. We wish him the best. And now we're going to preview tonight's matchup between the Red Wings and the Tampa Bay Lightning. Puck drop is 5:30 on Fox Sports Detroit locally, but if you're watching from somewhere else across the country, you can catch the game on NBC Sports Network. And as we talked about in the Big Three, some unfortunate news for the Red Wings in the fact that Tyler Brutusi will be unavailable. He is not traveling on this road trip. Coach Blashill said they expect him to miss somewhere between 4 and 6 games. It will just be difficult to get him to wherever the Red Wings are on this road trip. So it'll be hard for him to join mid-road trip. And he is currently leading the team in goals with 5 goals. So it's definitely going to be a loss. And another quick note on the injury list, Jonathan Bernier is traveling with the team, but he will not be available for tonight's game. I think they're expecting Friday, but tonight Jonathan Bernier is not available. Aside from all that negative news, Carly, there is some positive news for the Red Wings on this road trip.
That is right. I know we've talked a lot about the COVID protocol list. It has definitely been a thorn in the side of the Red Wings so far this season. It's a bummer, but it is kind of what we're looking at with this odd condensed season with everything going on in the world. But of course, Robbie Fabry and Adam Ernie will be available for tonight's game. As Blash said, he expects them to play. Fabry will definitely be a really good addition to help back in the lineup, get some of those pucks in the back of the net, hopefully. He's usually a fairly good goal scorer who can help us out in these low goal games. I feel like we're averaging about 2 goals a game. So hopefully we can up the ante and then put more shots on net. And then Sam Gagne and John Merrill, birthday boy, happy birthday, John Merrill. They're now eligible to return, but they have not officially practiced yet. So hopefully we'll see them out on the ice soon so that they can make their return. And Zadina, of course, we know, Art's favorite, will be available or will be able to return on Friday. So I'm not quite sure, I shouldn't say available. He'll be able to return on Friday. So a lot of exciting moves to happen on this team this week. So I'll definitely focusing on that. I know it's been pretty rough. I think we're on correct me if I'm wrong, 6-game losing streak. So hopefully we can turn things around because we did have a bright spot in the beginning of the season. So hopefully we can repeat that again.
Definitely. They're going to need to pick up a few points on this road trip. And as Ken Kale mentioned in the mailbag, John Cooper is going to need to throw the Red Wings a bone if they're going to beat the Tampa Bay Lightning, Art, because, oh my gosh, their numbers at home are outstanding.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, in their last 20 home games, which carry over to obviously the last season, and this season Tampa's 4-0 at home right now, but in their last 20 at home, they're 17-3. Their goals a game is 4.7. They're only giving up 2 goals a game. They're shooting almost 33 shots a game, and their power play has been 5 of 18. I mean, they are stacked. But when you now throw in the fact that Steven Stamkos, and that's what we forget about. Kucherov is a huge, huge loss for them. But Stamkos is back, and what has he done in 7 games? He has 9 points. He has 4 goals, 5 assists. Then Braden Point has 8 points. Victor Hedman has 8 points. Mikhail Sergachev is +5. And Vasilevsky in net. And I wrote this down because I love Vasilevsky. Now, I have a thing for Russian goaltenders. It goes back to Tretiak many, many years ago with the Soviet Red Army team. He's 5-1, 0-1 this year. Goals against a 2.14, save percentage of .925. But this season alone, and this is what's really, really scary, their power play is converting at 24% right now. The Red Wings, unfortunately, are only at 11.8%. But on the penalty kill, Tampa's killing off 80% of their penalties. Detroit, 64.5. So again, it might come down to a special teams game, as they so often do in the NHL. And the Red Wings are going to have to stay out of the box. But Tampa reminds me of the old Red Wing teams that Steve Yzerman played on. And I know that he pretty much is the main architect of this Tampa team. But what makes Tampa so good is that those Red Wing teams of the past, much like this Tampa team now, you can dictate any style of game you want to play. You want to play rough and tumble, you want to play finesse, you want to play something in between, you want to play dump and chase, you want to play puck possession, whatever. They can play it. That's how good they are. That's how deep they are. They can play anything you want. You know, it's like, hey, dictate the terms. Tell us what you want to do, because guess what? We can do it better than you, and like 9 out of 10 times they can. And that's why they're so good. But at home, they're great. You know, Kenny just gave us that stat. Detroit hasn't beaten Tampa in regulation in Tampa since 2011. I mean,
when I graduated high school.
You young ladies weren't even, I was going to say, you young ladies weren't even adults then. You know what I'm saying? I mean, that's a long time ago.
Really long
so, you know, that's, you know, so in Tampa, 17-3 in their last 20 home games, undefeated this year. This is a tall task for the Red Wings. But as I said earlier, getting Fabre back is a big, big move. That's really, really good for the Red Wings. Zadina coming back on Friday. You know, Merrill and Gagne cleared to play, but as Carly said, you know, depending on how they feel, maybe they're in the lineup today, maybe not. The Red Wings didn't have a morning skate, so we won't know till really game time. So, but Tampa's good. They're just good. They're the defending Stanley Cup champions, and I would not be surprised if they're hoisting that baby at the end of the season this year too. So seriously, I mean, Vasilevsky and net, but and then defensively, their three pairs. You've got they're anchored by McDonough, Sergachev, and then of course Victor Hedman. My God, that's their whole left side. I mean, they're good. I can go on about them. You know, I sound like we should be doing this, this telecast in Tampa.
I know. So I'm saying, who do you work for?
Sorry about that. But I said the Red Wings are going to be 3-3 on this trip.
I know.
Well, it is what it is, right? They're two teams that are at the opposite end of the spectrum right now. The Red Wings are in a rebuild, and Tampa Bay is a very, very heavy contender to win their second straight Stanley Cup. Yeah. So it's right.
But remember, the guy who built Tampa is also building Detroit. His name is Steve Yzerman. So yeah. Hey, by the way, I also heard Matthew Stafford and Clayton Kershaw are good friends. I don't know. And now they're reunited in LA. I've never heard that either.
Wow.
What?
They're in the same city now.
Well, I know. I'm so glad. I mean, I guess they're friends.
We always end up on some random topic during Bet You Didn't Know. We'll talk more about the Red Wings and Tampa Bay Lightning's matchup and the rest of the road trip with Larry Murphy later in the show. He's going to join Art live for the headliner, so you definitely won't want to miss that. And of course, while you're watching the game tonight, which starts at 5:30 on Fox Sports Detroit and NBCSN, Hockeytown Home Ice. It's an awesome second screen experience. You just download the Home Turf app on your phone and you get some in-game content that if you were at the game, you would see on the video board. And of course, that includes myself, Art, and Carly. So you definitely need to have that on while you're enjoying the game. Right, guys?
Exactly. You know, before we end Bet You Didn't Know, I want to say something in all seriousness. Today is February 3rd. It's a day that I always look forward to, not because it's Puxatawny Phil has declared 6 more months of winter yesterday or whenever it was, but today is National Girls and Women in Sports Day. And it's a day that young girls and women, and really all people, inspire girls and women to play and be active in sports and to reach their full potential. And I just want to say that Daniela Bruce and Carly Johnson, who are ambassadors for the Red Wings and the Tigers, should be an inspiration to all young people, and especially the young girls out there. You can aspire. You have the power to do whatever you want. These are 2 shining examples of that. They're a pleasure to work with, and I'll tell you, they make my job so easier, and, they're attractive. But that doesn't... so,
Let the train fall off the tracks.
I'm just kidding about that. No, but in all seriousness, I just want to say.
Wait, think about take that back.
I just told how great you are and how inspiration you are, and then I say, well, maybe they're not so attractive, and you both get mad at me for that. I mean, no, like
we did not get mad. It was funny. We liked it. Thank you, Art.
Okay, well, anyway, I'm just teasing, but all seriousness, not National Girls and Women in Sports Day. When I was coming up, there weren't a whole lot of women in sports. And, and really, people that we know, from Dana Wakiji to Jennifer Hammond, and there's so many more that I'm obviously going to miss. I mean, this is a tough business, but it's especially a tough business if you're a woman. And I'm talking about sports. I've seen it firsthand. And, everyone's come a long way. It's really inspiring to me and uplifting. And it should be to all the young girls out there that if you want a career in sports journalism, if you want to be an athlete, look, when I was in high school, girls softball might have been a varsity sport. And then it was synchronized swimming. Seriously. And, maybe a swimming team. There weren't a lot of opportunities for girls in athletics. There just weren't back then. Well, now they're all over, as it should be, and it's right. This is a day of celebration, not only for women, but for all of us. And I'm just going to say that both of you two inspire not only me, but I know you're inspiring women everywhere, as you should. Keep up the good work.
Oh, Art, that was so sweet. Thank you.
Yeah, I hope I wasn't too sexist there.
It's a pleasure to work with you, too.
Yeah.
Well,
Art, we learn from you every single day. So you've really helped mold us into the reporters and the hosts we are now.
Well, you know what they always say? That Art Regner, he's a legend in his own mind.
Who says that?
I do.
I love it. This has been the best that you didn't know yet.
Yes. National Girls and Women in Sports Day. Congratulations. Way to go, young ladies. Way to go.
Well, thank you, Art. I really appreciate that. But I do want you to tell everyone how great Hockeytown Home Ice is, too, because that was what I pitched to you. But you had some surprise for us up your sleeve, which was great. But Hockeytown Home Ice, you can download the app. I want to just remind everybody, it's really cool. Art, Carly, and I are on there giving you your pregame, and Art loves it. There's some stats on there.
I chat.
Art
Every Red Wing home game. I don't know how I exactly did this because I'm not really technical savvy. But in the chat, I am known as Mr. R with a small r. It's not a capital R. I'm Mr. R. And like people are like, who are you, dude? You think you know about the Red Wings? And it's like, well, yeah, I think I do. But who's Mr. R? I'm just some random guy on the chat. So I'm going to have to change my name, I guess. But it's fun. It's really fun.
I got to figure out how to change mine too because it took my email. Yeah, it was just, you're not the only one. We got to figure that part out.
My name on the chat is Carly Johnston. So if you want to chat with me tonight, feel free.
That's right. Yeah, Mr. R, small r. That's me.
Mr. R, Bruce, and Carly Johnston will be on the chat. All right, that's Hockeytown Home Ice. Make sure you download that app to follow along tonight. Again, puck drop is 5:30 p.m. on Fox Sports Detroit or NBCSN. That does it for Bet You Didn't Know, presented by PointsBet Sportsbook, an official gaming partner of the Detroit Tigers and Detroit Red Wings. Download the app and follow PointsBet USA on social media for more information. We've still got a lot of exciting things coming up in today's show. Jason Beck of MLB.com is going to join us to talk some Tigers. And then, as I mentioned later in the show, Larry Murphy is going to join Art live for the headliner to talk about the Red Wings' upcoming road trip. And right now, we're going to continue that discussion with Max Bultman of The Athletic for Downtown Hockeytown, presented by Labatt Blue Light. Max, thank you so much for taking the time to join us again today. It's always great to have you.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I really appreciate it.
Okay, there is one little thing you and I have to talk about before we talk Red Wings hockey, okay?
Okay.
What is your beef with the Woo? I don't
have a beef with the Woo. I don't have a beef with the Woo. I think a lot of fans have a beef with the Woo, and I felt like that was my job to bring that to light, the divisiveness of the Woo, Daniel. I know it's your baby, though. I know that's your gift to Little Caesars Arena.
I edited the montage. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
The idea was given to me, but it was in part our whole team put that together. And like you said, it's got some love and it's got some hate. It's fun though, right, Max? Come on.
Oh, no doubt. I mean, so here's the thing. The first time I noticed it, I was like, "What? Why is this happening? Like, what is going on?" Because I didn't notice the montage the first few games, and I would just realize that in the third period, halfway through, people would just start these little bird noises that would ripple throughout the arena, and so I eventually figured out what was happening, and so I talked to a bunch of fans. But you're right. For as many that don't like it, there are some really, really passionate Woo believers out there among Red Wings fans.
I love that. And I don't think we expected it to stick like it did either, but it's awesome. You'll hear it. If we play it in the second period, it's going through the entire game. People in the parking lot are wooing after the game. It's pretty awesome.
It's grown on me. I'm not going to lie. It's grown on me. And I love those little things about sports and about hockey specifically, that to anyone who has no idea what's going on, they might think you just walked out of an insane asylum, but to anyone who knows, they kind of understand what's going on.
It is amazing, but we are going to talk some actual Red Wings hockey, I promise. So, Max, the first thing I want to touch on is something that we haven't talked about yet on the show. Dylan Larkin will skate in his 400th game as a Detroit Red Wing tonight, and it's just been a great year for him. He was named the Red Wings 37th captain. He's playing well through the first 10 games of the season. What have you thought about Dylan Larkin's performance and how he's been able to adjust to the captaincy?
Yeah, I think he's been pretty good. I mean, obviously he's got a few goals early on in the year. I'm sure he's glad to get that going, right off the bat. I've also noticed that he's drawn a lot of penalties, especially in the first 5-6 games of the year. He was, among the league leaders in penalties drawn. And that's one of the many ways, kind of the subtle ways that maybe don't go in the points column for him that stand out, is with his speed and with how much he's around the puck. He can give the Red Wings those opportunities on the power play. Now, they haven't made the most out of most of them, and so I don't know that they've gotten full benefit for those opportunities. But there's a lot of ways that Dylan Larkin helps the Red Wings in the offensive zone, in the neutral zone, in the defensive zone. That, I think, is a big reason why he's captain, is because whenever he's out there, he's usually doing something positive.
Max, before I ask you a Red Wing question, as we know, you're a proud native son of Grand Rapids.
That's right.
When you drive into Grand Rapids, he's a one-name celebrity. It just says home of Max. And everyone knows who you're talking about. It's the home of the wet burrito, which you're very proud of. But I would imagine, since you are from Grand Rapids, even though they may not have fans, the Griffin season starting has to really be a good shot of adrenaline for the people on the west side of the state.
Well, I think they'd like to be able to go to the games before it was too adrenaline-inducing. The Griffins aren't on TV very much in Grand Rapids, or at least they weren't when I was growing up there. So, I'm sure everyone in town there, whether they work for the Griffins or they just want to see them, would prefer to actually be able to watch. But I'm sure they'll get Bob Kaiser queued up on the radio dial, and maybe they can follow the team that way. But yeah, a few Red Wings just got sent down there the other day. Gustav Lindstrom, Michael Rasmussen, Dennis Chalowski, everybody knows Evgeny Svechnikov. So there'll certainly be some prospects down there. And from what I can gather from the fans, quite a few prospects who people would like to see up sooner rather than later.
Well, it'll be great. I mean, it's really important for Grand Rapids to play. And I know you're downplaying it a little bit because there won't be fans there, but trust me, if Max wants to go see the Griffins play at Van Andel Arena, they will let him. So, so I, with that, okay, Max, this is a 6-game road trip. We're going to ask you, we're going to put you on the spot. I said 3-3. Ken Cal, for some reason, thinks the Red Wings could go 5-5. What's your prediction?
On the 6-game road trip?
Yes.
Well, it's Tampa, Florida, Nashville. Those are some steep slides. I don't think you're taking one off Tampa. That's the best team in the league in my eyes until proven otherwise. Florida, I think, based on the way they played them last time, I think they can get a split. Nashville's a team that I think they can get a split with. So I'll say 2-4, but it's not an easy slate.
Yeah.
Well, go ahead. Go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry. No, I'm sorry, Danielle, because it's like National Women in Sports Day. I haven't forgotten about that, so I should have let you go. But I I think that the Red Wings, I think that Dylan Larkin, you talked about his evolution as a captain. He said something last week that I'm not so sure he would have said the previous 2 seasons when he was wearing the A. And that was on the power play where he essentially said, we don't want the puck on our stick. Guys are afraid to make plays. I thought, wow, Dylan speaks his mind, but, sometimes because he's 22 and 23 at those last couple of years. Now he's 24. I can see that leadership, yet I do think he was tight the first couple of games trying to do too much, but I agree with you. I think he has really found his groove as captain of the Red Wings, and obviously I think that was obviously a good move by Steve. I mean, I think Dylan embraces it. He knows what it takes to be a captain, even though last year he said, I know this is long, that he said, in today's hockey, you don't need a captain. We're all kind of leaders. I think he's proving it, and maybe to himself. The Red Wings definitely needed a captain, and it should have been Dylan Larkin.
Well, to me, it's just like at a certain point, Dylan Larkin was already the Red Wings captain in so many ways. And so the main difference was now he's got the C stitched onto his jersey, right? Like, I think it was obvious to all of us who were around the team last year that was already well underway to kind of just becoming the dynamic of the locker room. And certainly the Red Wings do have other leaders in there. And I've been very impressed with Luke Glendening and his voice for the team in the last couple seasons, especially after some of these losses that, can be hard to put into words, I think, for these guys, especially 5 minutes after the game ends. But, I don't know about you, Art, but to me, I thought certainly from about mid-season last year on that this kind of felt like it was just bound to happen, right?
Yeah, you're right. I mean, you could tell. I mean, it consistently, Glendening and Justin, let's put it this way, the homegrown Michigan Red Wings all talked after games. I think they almost all felt compelled that they had to say something. And I think that has a lot to do with them being from here and knowing what the fan base is going through and how they feel, because at one time during their lives, they weren't Red Wing players, they were Red Wing fans. So I think that it all has meshed together very, very nicely. It's well-deserved. And, it's about time Steve Yzerman got something right, about time, Steve.
Wow.
Is he still in the waiting room for this, right? Yeah. He's waiting. He's coming on later on the show, right?
He's always on hold for this show. If I feel like having him on, he comes on. Not today, Steve. You might as well go have lunch.
He's only gone on once so far, but we'll have to make more time for him. But Max, I do want to get back to the Red Wings power play and penalty kill. They've been pretty good 5-on-5, but every game it seems like they're losing the special teams battle. And the power play should improve with the return of Robbie Fabry and Adam Ernie in tonight's game. And then Philip Zadina will be coming back on Friday, but they're also losing Tyler Brutusi for what we anticipate will be the whole road trip. So will they be able to improve on that power play with the return of some of these guys?
Maybe a little bit, but I think Tyler Bertuzzi's been one of the best things they have going for that power play, and his ability to find those loose pucks in that 6 to 8 foot area around the crease and bang them home. I mean, that's probably been their best power play weapon. Anthony Mantha's had a couple, I think, power play goals, or maybe right after a power play was one of them too. But I think that's a huge loss. And frankly, I think he's been one of their better penalty killers this year too, up until he got hurt. So that's a gigantic loss in my mind. And you mentioned the 5-on-5. Like, I think they've been good at 5-on-5 in terms of defending and suppressing chances. But, offensively, they still are going to have to find a way to generate, I think, more chances. And that can run counter a little bit to trying to shut them down and maybe take less risks. And these are the trade-offs that they're always going to have to be trying to make. And the way that they can weather it, if maybe one side of that dips a little bit, is with special teams. And that's by having a great power play or a great penalty kill. Right now, they don't have either. And so they need at least one of those two special teams areas to step up. If they're not going to be able to score more at 5-on-5. And really, I'm sure they would love to get both going. But I think the penalty kill might be a little more controllable for them, although trying to do it without, a guy in Bertuzzi who's been one of their better penalty killers so far is no easy task.
Max, if you look at where the Red Wings are at, obviously Bertuzzi is huge. I think he's been their best forward consistently all season long. I don't even think it's even close. Dylan's kind of there, but Bertuzzi's going to be a huge loss. Yet getting Fabry back tonight, And then, you put in Gagne, you put in Ernie, who's, he's going to be all psyched up to play against Tampa. And then, Zadina comes back and Merrill. I guess if there's a saving grace, you would think that Fabre and hopefully Zadina can pick up the scoring pace and maybe nullify a little bit of the loss of Brutusi.
Yes, and I think the fact that Fabre, they're bringing him back on the wing to get him reacclimated. Obviously, he missed a lot of time, so throwing him at center would be a really big ask with how much skating you ask your centers to do over the course of a game. So bringing him back at wing, I think, makes him a little more dangerous offensively. He can afford to kind of hunt to his spots a little more. It wouldn't surprise me if he scores a little bit more in this burst than maybe you would have expected him to at center. And then certainly when Zadina gets back later on in this trip, I think he's a guy who looks to me like he might be ready to make that next step, especially with how hard he's been forechecking, the turnovers he's created in dangerous spots on the ice, in the O zone and in the neutral zone. Those are the kind of things that can really change a game in 5 to 10 seconds. And you saw it earlier this year. Zadina comes up and he strips a Columbus defender, takes the puck right off his stick, and then sets up a goal to Bobby Ryan. That's a play that happens deep in the O zone, right down by the goal line. And those areas of the ice, if you're able to create turnovers and then move the puck to your teammates, you're going to score goals that way. That's something that stood out about Zadina throughout training camp, especially coming back on those back checks in the neutral zone. If he's able to continue it, that is something that I think can help replace some of that offense. And I think they've missed him a lot. I think they've missed both of these guys a lot over the last 2 weeks.
They definitely have. I'm excited to see what the Red Wings can do now that they have some of these players back from that COVID protocol list. Max, thank you so much for taking the time to join us today. We always enjoy talking to you.
Thanks very much for having me, guys.
Let's get a woo out of you. Can I get a woo before we wrap it up?
Ooh, might take a rain check on that one.
Oh, come on. Woo! Next time. Woo!
See you later.
Oh, all right, Max. We'll talk to you later. Thanks again. And of course, a big thank you to Labatt Blue Light for presenting Downtown Hockey Town. Labatt Blue Light, refreshing Canadian Pilsner. Visit your local retailer when safe to pick up some Labatt Blue Light. Don't forget the Red Wings will take on the Tampa Bay Lightning for the first game of this 6-game road trip at 5:30 tonight on Fox Sports Detroit and NBCSN elsewhere in the country. Let's go Red Wings and let's go Kids Club. The 2021 Red Wings Kids Club is open now. For just $20, members will receive a custom kit with everything you need to cheer on the Red Wings this season. Plus, you'll get exclusive monthly content, special offers, and more. To sign up now, go to DetroitRedWings.com/kidsclub. We've got more Red Wings coverage when Larry Murphy joins Art for the headliner in just a little bit, but right now we're going to dive into some Tigers baseball. It's time for Brush Street Beat, presented by our friends at McLaren Healthcare. Today's guest is a returning guest of the Word on Woodward, Jason Beck, MLB.com Tigers writer. Jason, thank you so much for taking the time to join us again today.
Thank you for having me on. Great to be back here in the middle of winter as we look forward to some warm weather and hopefully some baseball here pretty soon.
Yeah, we're getting close to some Tigers baseball. And one of the things that I really wanted to talk to you about today was the addition of Wilson Ramos, a catcher that the Tigers signed to a 1-year, $2 million deal. He addressed the media yesterday and he was very, I learned a lot from him. Let's put it that way. He was very talkative, telling us a lot about himself and especially his relationship with Miguel Cabrera and how that was a huge factor in him signing here in Detroit, Jason.
Yeah, they've actually worked together for, a little bit. They've worked together basically all off season, basically since the end of the World Series. So it's, they've had a chance to really check on each other's progress. Now, that being said, Ramos said he and Miggy never talked about the Tigers catcher's opening, even though it was clearly a huge void in the lineup for the whole offseason. And we've all been waiting for them to fill it with somebody here for, basically since the season ended. So the pieces were in place for this to happen. It's just amazing how it happened without that much influence. But it's pretty encouraging. I mean, Miggy has had different workout buddies over the years. JD Martinez and he worked out for a while. I think Alex Avila and Miggy worked out for a few years. So it's, this is not the first time Miguel Cabrera has had a workout partner who has ended up becoming a teammate. But I think at this stage, it's pretty big, and hopefully it helps him, ease the transition because he has spent like 10 of his 11 major league seasons in the National League East. The only time he's been in the AL Central was when he made his major league debut for Minnesota, like 11 or 12 years ago.
What do you think of this? Is this an upgrade at the catching position? We were so high on Rehmann last year, and now he handled the pitching staff. But when I look at this, I can't help but like this move a lot.
I think offensively, he has a chance to be a pretty good upgrade. If the Tigers get the Wilson Ramos we saw in 2019, and really most of the years before that, this should be a pretty good offensive upgrade. And you could end up being the best hitting Tigers catcher that the Tigers have had since Alex Avila, probably. He had a down year offensively last year. I think part of that was in relation to making the transition to getting the ball in the air and trying to drive the ball. And I think there were some growing pains doing that, especially pretty abruptly with an interrupted season. He said he didn't really have the regular at-bats he felt like he needed to make that transition work. So I would expect he's going to get plenty of opportunities, certainly early on in the season, to see if he can make that work, unless Jake Rogers just comes into spring training and hits like gangbusters and ends up getting a timeshare at the catcher's position. But, there's ample opportunity for Ramos to show what he still has offensively, whether or not he hits for power. If he just has a line drive approach and sprays line drives to right center all spring into the summer, that can work too. And he said that guys he was working out with were joking about him after the deal came out, news of the deal came out, that this is your chance to finally get some triples. And he says, I'll sort up for some RBI doubles too. So, but offensively, it should be an upgrade. Defensively, it remains to be seen. He's had some troubles getting the low strike called on the pitch framing aspect, but he has worked on that. We'll see. It'll be an interesting challenge because he has some guys who have the chance to get some low strikes called and who could really benefit from that. But, we'll see how that goes.
One other thing that he mentioned that really stuck out to me, Jason, was the fact of losing as much weight as he did this offseason. You mentioned he was working out with Miguel Cabrera, but he said he went from 270, 275 to about 240, 245. So somewhere in the 30-pound range. That has to be really something that can benefit, especially a catcher.
Yeah, that surprised me. I'm always hesitant to, after, in recent years to make too much of the proverbial best shape of my life story going into spring training. But I would think for a catcher entering his mid-30s, that is significant. It's something we heard about Ivan Rodriguez going through at a certain stage of his career, basically out of necessity, because at some point those knees take so much wear and tear. Most catchers need to take that weight off. I think even Gerald Laird talked about it at some point during his career. He said you cannot carry that same weight after a certain point in your career that you did younger, because your knees just don't have the strength to do that anymore, right? or the durability. So it's we'll see how it works. It's a little bit of an adjustment now, because especially if you're talking about a 162 game season, catchers do tend to lose weight as the season goes on. So will he still have that energy with that lower weight that he did in years past? We'll see, especially if he wants to catch as much as he's talking about, being basically an everyday catcher. It's going to be a test for him to maintain that. But right now, at least it sounds like a pretty good building block.
Jason, last week the Tigers had their winter caravan, but it was all virtual. And when I could get on the Zoom calls, I definitely did get on them. But sometimes it conflicted with what we were doing Red Wing wise. I have 4 very quick observations, and I'm going to throw them at you. And then I want you to answer quickly, because Daniela has some probing questions that she wants to ask you. Mainly, why don't you have your beard going right now? It's the middle of February. But aside from that, and you can answer that when Daniela asks you. My first observation, Torkelson pretty much thinks he's going to play third for the Tigers. I mean, he has taken no reps at first at all.
Yeah, and I'm hesitant to make too much of that because when you've played first base as much as Torque did in college, look, it's not going to be a big transition if he has to move back there at some point. Whether it's a necessity due to injuries or if they decide that they just don't think his defense is going to cut it at third. It's like riding a bicycle. I don't think it would be a big transition there. The fact that they haven't had him do any work there yet. Yeah, it's notable, but I don't want to make too much of it yet.
All right. Second, Casey Arthur Mize, the player that's near and dear to my heart, does not lack confidence.
He does not. He looked at last year's struggles as a learning opportunity, but he also didn't want to brush off last year as like a transition year for him. You definitely got the sense talking to him last week that there's some competitiveness there, and he wants to come back and show that that he learned something from it, and that he's a better pitcher than that.
And Spencer Turnbull, he's going to try to amp it down a little bit on the mound, but he's still going to be a fiery competitor.
Yeah, I'll kind of believe it when I see it when he talks about amping it down. I think he thrives so much on that energy. Sometimes that's hard to channel, and sometimes you need a catcher who can help you channel that by getting you to focus. But I also think new pitching coach Chris Fetter could have an influence on that.
And finally, my last observation, Boyd and Norris are attached at the hip.
Oh, yeah, that's, they go back to Lansing in the Midwest League. They're in the Blue Jay system when they were both drafted by the Blue Jays. They've been telling stories about that for years, that, they shared a house that summer after Boyd was drafted. They invited him in, and Daniel Norris was staying in the attic. What Daniel didn't talk about, what we was that sometimes, Daniel was so polite that when he would leave that house, he would sneak out through one of the windows because he didn't want to wake everybody up or disturb anybody by going down through the steps and everything. So he would sneak out, which sounds crazy, but when you know Daniel, it sounds completely like what a Daniel Norris thing to do.
Can you imagine the rest of the house waking up thinking that Norris is upstairs sleeping, but he's gone because he went through the window? And so they're all like on pins and needles. Man, that guy's sleeping late. You know what I mean? I mean, maybe he should just announce, hey, I'm leaving. Boom, slam the door. They'll like stir. Oh, yeah, Norris is leaving. And then go back to bed.
It sounds like something like he would sneak off to a coffee house late at night to go like listen to like a poetry slam or something along those lines.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah, I can definitely see that.
Yeah, something like that. I've envisioned Norris doing that over the years.
One last question for you, Jason. Since we were talking about Daniel Norris and he did address the media during the Tigers virtual media week, where do you see him fitting into the Tigers lineup? Is he going to be in the starting rotation, or is he going to take on more of a reliever role like he did last season?
I suspect he's going to push like crazy to try to win a rotation spot unless they sign somebody else. I think he's serious about, pushing in there. I think he wants to be a starter. I think he wants to make his brand as a starter. I think he wants to contribute in that sense. And I think the fact that he's getting into pitch design now is a potentially big sign in his development to get beyond, the fastball changeup mix and try to mix in some of these other pitches. I think I'm going to be very curious in Lakeland to see what type of impact Chris Fetter has on him, because I do think that Norris is an eager student on this, which is interesting for somebody who has never done this. And he admitted on the Zoom call with us, he's never been a big metrics guy. He's never been a big pitch design guy, which is crazy when you look at some of the spin rates he has had on his pitches. His fastball works at a reduced velocity because of the spin rate. And, especially now going into his last year before potential free agency. If he has a big year, he would have no shortage of interest on the open market, in part because of those spin rates. And if he adds another pitch to go with it, if he dusts off the curveball and gets that working as an effective pitch again, if he does something with the slider, if he does something with a two-seamer, I think that, he could be a four-pitch starter without much trouble. And, if he wins that spot, then he certainly should have a clean slate with A.J. Hinch and Chris Fetter, that it could be very big for him going forward, whether it's in Detroit or somewhere else. So I'm going to be very curious about this. Now, it could come at like Mize or Scooble's expense, at least starting out the year, but it could be an interesting bridge if the Tigers want to use it to help regulate the innings that Scooble and Mize pick up, early in the year. And then maybe they ease those guys in the rotation spots, and you either put him in the bullpen or Biggie back him.
One of the many storylines to follow as we head into spring training, Jason, which is just 2 weeks away now, a little more than 2 weeks away. So we'll definitely stay in contact with you, because will you be in Florida?
I'm hoping to be. I haven't set my plans yet, but we're optimistic on getting down there at some point. And with the weather forecasted for this weekend and then the next week, that warm weather can't get here soon enough.
Yeah, I bet. Well, we'll definitely stay in contact with you either way. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us today, Jason.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me on.
Of course. And a big thank you to McLaren Healthcare for presenting Brush Street Beat right here on the Word on Woodward. Another thank you to Jason for joining us. And fans, don't miss a minute of the 2021 Tiger season with the 1901 Society membership starting at just $499. That's only $6.16 per game. Secure your personal seat, a membership in the 1901 Society, and exclusive benefits like player meet and greets and more. Buy now at tigers.com/499. And now, guys, we're going to get back into Red Wings mode here, and I'm going to hand it over to Art for today's headliner.
Well, thank you, Daniela. It is time for the headliner presented by Miller Lite, and our guest is current Red Wing color analyst for Fox Sports Detroit, or Bally Sports Detroit, if they've officially changed. I'm not sure yet. Is Hall of Fame defenseman Larry Murphy. Larry, thanks for joining us.
Hey, you're welcome, Art. And yes, it has not changed yet, but that day is coming soon, as you well know.
Yes. If it wasn't for change, everything would stay the same, right, Larry? Yeah. And that would be boring.
That's all. Well put, Art. Well put.
I'm always thinking, Larry. Always thinking.
That's why you make what you make. That's why they pay you the big bucks.
Oh yeah, boy. I just got my W-2. It was earth shattering. With that said, before we begin, the Red Wings just announced a move that I want to get into. They tweeted it out under their account, but they're 2-6-2 this season. They've had the COVID protocol, 5 regulars out of the lineup. What's your early assessment of this Red Wing club?
Well, unfortunately, Art, they have the 5 players that were out of the lineup because of the COVID protocol, and that really depleted them immensely. I mean, it's a team that's rebuilding, so it's not an organization that has a lot of depth. So that really took the sting out of it. I thought they started off well. Those first 4 games at home were played quite well. They accomplished things that they wanted to. Limiting chances against, I think, was the biggest one that they succeeded at. But losing those 5 guys, it's just too much of a grind. You need to have depth in your lineup to have any sort of success. And they had guys in there that they didn't anticipate would be there. Now, it was a great opportunity for a lot of players, but still, I mean, you saw the special teams suffer because of it. And it's unfortunately that they've turned the corner. We're going to see a couple of them back in the lineup tonight, at least 2. So hopefully they can get things back on track.
The Red Wings just announced that 4 of the 5 players on COVID protocol. Zadina can't be cleared until Friday, but Fabre, Gagne, Ernie, and Merrill are all cleared to play. We know Fabre's playing. He was on second power play unit yesterday and on the top line with Larkin and Ryan. Ernie's going to play. He was on a line with Glenn Denning and Helm from practice yesterday. But Matthias Brome, who has impressed everybody, has been sent to that taxi squad. What do you make of that, Larry?
I'm not surprised. It's all about production. I mean, this team goals are hard to come by. I think they're averaging about 2 goals a game, and Brome hasn't put up any points yet. And he's a hard worker. He's tenacious. He knows his position, but he just hasn't produced offensively. And when that happens to a player coming to an organization, that puts you at great risk in terms of being moved out of the lineup. As I hadn't heard that news yet, but I got to be honest, I'm not surprised. Now, this is not a guy I'm closing the book on, Art. I think he might get a little more comfortable. The nerves might go away. He won't be squeezing the sap so much out of his stick, and he might become more of a producer, an offensive producer. You just can't. You've got to go out there, and yes, you might be a checking player, but you still got to produce something at some point. If you're not getting anything out of you, then you're not going to last in the National Hockey League. And Adam Ernie's coming back in the lineup now. He's a guy that plays maybe a little more edge to his game, a little more physical. But Adam Ernie's got to produce some offense. Now, it's not his job. They don't want him out there on the power play. They don't expect him to be that kind of player. But still, if he doesn't put up any sort of numbers, he's going to be at the bottom of the list there in terms of depth. And when they want to change things, those are the guys that are usually out, as we find out with Brome.
Right. I love that. Squeeze the sap out of your stick. I've never heard that, Larry. I'm going to have to write that one down. Is that like an old hockey expression?
It's obviously old school, Art. I mean, they use that composite material now. There's no more wood, but still, I still think it works, Art. I still think the expression works.
I love the expression. Reminds me of the old days with the old Northland sticks I used to have as a kid. What is this stuff? It's sap. I thought it was tape. But anyway, I know I'm jumping around a little bit, but the power play has been the bane of the Red Wings' existence this year. They're converting at like an 11% clip. Tampa, the team they're playing tonight, is hitting it like almost 25%. You were a offensively gifted defenseman. I mean, you're a Hall of Famer. Is it just because they haven't been with the 5 guys on COVID? They just haven't been able to settle in and get any chemistry built up. They didn't play any preseason games. What's up with that power play, Larry?
Yeah, that's what would have been nice, of course, is if they got a couple of goals early in the season, then you get that confidence, you get that momentum. And then now what's happened is the issue of hesitation is now creeped into the equation. They haven't been so good with the puck management. I mean, number one, getting into the zone was a big problem early on. They seem to be doing a better job of that later. And another problem they had was just puck management. They were just giving it away, trying to force plays, coughing it up, and then having to go skate down 200 feet to bring it back up again. So power play success comes from sustained pressure. Yeah, you need guys with scoring touch, but you've got to put pressure on for amount of time, and then something breaks for you, and you take advantage of it. And they haven't gotten that sustained pressure, so it's been a big problem. It's something that can take the wind out of your sails. Scotty Bowman he really thought it was important for the power play to go out there and be productive in the sense that getting chances and being a positive out there. He always was worried that if you had a power play and it laid an egg, then it was going to take the wind out of your sails and it was going to hurt you. And he was very concerned about that. And I think there's a lot of truth to that. When the power play, you don't get the production, you don't get the goals, but it can have a lasting effect on the team.
Yeah. Obviously it's Scotty Bowman. I agree with him. Surprise, surprise. But you can see it. You can see how a power play that's just back and forth, and they're not setting up, they're all scrambling out there on the ice, it does affect the mood of a team. You can see the adrenaline kind of go down a notch when you don't have to score. I think the key, what you just said, Larry, is so true. Just get chances, set up, get sustained pressure, because that gets in the other team's head too, and before you know it, good things are going to start to happen.
Yeah, exactly, Art. That is so true. And the COVID played into it. They got into the point where they weren't producing, so Blashill wanted to make changes there. Well, he had no Zadina, he had no Fabry. He'd been using Merrill on the point. He wasn't available. Gagne, he wasn't available. So I mean, it really affected the power play. It really thinned out the depth, because you need 2 units. Yes, you go with your main 5, but just like in hockey in general, your top line, it's going to, at the end of the day, is going to produce more offensively, but you just can't ride them all season. It's just not going to work. And that's the same with the power play. So he was really stretched in trying to find other guys to get put in that position to play on the power play. And it definitely affected it infected their production by a considerable amount.
All right, I'm going to get off the power play in a second. I keep bringing this up, but Dylan,
now,
last
Art,
week,
what about? I mean, who's getting the penalty kill has been just as struggling. Not to go down that direction, but we can't. The penalty kill needs a lot of work also.
Hey, they're killing penalties at like a 64.5% clip. So yeah, I'm well aware of that. But I wanted to ask you this, and then we'll get into the penalty kill and maybe some of the moves, because we're going till like 4:30 today anyway, Larry. I didn't know if Mark told you that or not. So you're earning your paycheck today.
I gotta get to the studio. My paying gig. When you see the lid of the laptop go down, I'm out.
Hey, I got a connection with Bally Sports. I've already told him Murph is unavailable today. But with that said, Dylan did say something that he thought on the power play, guys were afraid to make plays and they didn't want the puck. That lack of confidence, how do you get that back, especially when your captain pretty much tells the whole world that?
Well, yeah, I mean, hesitation that's kind of crept into the team throughout the lineup, throughout the situations, and power play. It stands out. It's just it's a confidence. Guys, they're very determined. They're working very hard in practice. These are a group of guys that want to win. That's not the issue. But when you go out there, and it's happened to me when I've played, you're not always riding high in terms of confidence. And when you're not, you struggle to get yourself back there, because it does affect your play. All of a sudden, the hesitation comes in, and you start a little second guessing there, and that hurts things. When you see a power play clicking on any team in the National Hockey League, what's consistent about it is that there doesn't seem to be any hesitation there. It's not a case of like moving the puck in panic, but guys with confidence, even when they're holding on to the puck, you sense confidence. And when it's guys that you get the situation where Dylan Larkin was talking about, guys that don't want the puck. Well, it's a case of, geez, they're not so sure what they're going to do when they get it, and that's been a problem too.
Yeah, I want to jump to the penalty kill too. It's weird because they'll go in spurts where they'll be like they'll kill off 7 in a row or something, but then. And this creeps up in the Red Wings game the last couple of seasons. Once something happens, it seems to come in waves. So they give up one power play goal. I'm almost thinking, and I'm trying to be optimistic, well, another one's coming pretty soon. I mean, then they're like 2 of 4 on the kill. What is going on the penalty kill?
Well, I mean, that was a big problem last season, I thought, when it was the here we go again scenario, right, where they would falter at some point, and then they'd end up giving 2 or 3 goals in a short period of time, and then the game would be over. I see much more. I don't see that as an issue this season, Art. I think when I look at the penalty kill and I look at defensively of late, I see too many opportunities from the slot area. It just seems to be the opposition's been able to, one way or another, move the puck to a guy in the slot that's able to make a play, whether it's a a redirect from the side or a pass behind or outman rush. I mean, they're getting opportunities in the slot, which they weren't getting earlier on. So, I mean, I believe this will all look after itself once we see these guys coming back in the lineup and you got much more depth. All of a sudden, chances against will get back to where they were early on in the season, and I think offense will start picking up again. But the penalty kill, and I mean, there's basics to penalty kill. Well, the one is when you get your stick on the puck, it's got to go down 200 feet. You got to limit the amount of time in your own zone. So you need a little more of that, and a little more. And hesitation gets you too on the penalty kill. You've got to. Everybody works in unison out there, and if one guy's moving on to cycle in terms of putting pressure, the other guys have a responsibility to move at the same time. They have a different job, but if they're kind of waiting and everybody's waiting for each other, then you don't have that cohesiveness on the penalty kill.
Yeah, I mean, you can see it. You're right. It just is kind of a lack of confidence. It kind of breaks down. One of the things too, guys are thinking too much at times. Just go out and play. Enjoy yourself a little bit. I mean, it's a game that you have a passion for. But some guys were sent down off the taxi squad or to Grand Rapids, specifically Michael Rasmussen. But Charlo hadn't played a game. Chalowski, that is. Lindstrom hadn't played a game. It seems to me Kevin Boyles is the third goaltender on this team, but he needs to play. He hasn't played. So you send him down to GR just to play. I mean, I think that being sent to Grand Rapids is not a bad thing if you're on the taxi squad because it allows you to play games.
Yeah. Well, we're going to see that, Art. We're going to see guys moved all season long, up and down. They don't want guys sitting on the taxi squad too long. So they'll shift them back to Grand Rapids to play and then move somebody else out. So I think he expected that to happen with guys going down. And Rasmussen, I mean, it's going to be great for him to play. He really showed well with the Wings. I mean, I feel much more confident that he's going to make that step to the National Hockey League now than I did before the season, because I really, he played Grand Rapids, really didn't know what to expect, but he came up and really did a real good job in the situations he was put in. So now they get him to Grand Rapids, play a lot, lead the way down there. I think we're going to obviously see him back. So it's, things look good from the organization. If they could just, stay away from COVID, things would have progressed so much further by this point. And unfortunately, I mean, of all, come on. Can't this franchise catch a break of late? And for this COVID to come has really, put a kink in the armor, so to speak. But now we're going to see some light at the end of the tunnel. And now there's going to be tougher decisions for Blashill in terms of who's he going to put in the lineup, because he's got options now, which is great. And he didn't really have too many options last season.
Right, and it's especially the timing couldn't be better with Brutusi going down, that Zadina is going to be available on Friday, and that Fabre is coming back tonight, along with Gagne. And we know Bertuzzi's a big loss. I mean, I think he's been their most consistent and best forward, no question about it. But one guy that was almost kind of a forgotten man that I wanted to touch upon is Taro Hirose. I mean, he wasn't kind of in the mix when we were talking about maybe some young guys. He was in Grand Rapids. He started off really well. But I think his high hockey IQ and the calmness he brings on the ice are something that the Red Wings really, really need right now. I don't think he's going anywhere.
Yeah, I want to echo your sentiments about Bertuzzi. Yeah, he has been the most consistent and determined player, and obviously the most productive in terms of goals for us. So yeah, that's a hurdle they're going to have to deal with, a problem. But I'm talking about Hirose. When he came to the National Hockey League, he had success. He put up some numbers. He got more opportunity than he would have really in any other organization, because just the Wings were so depleted. So he got a chance to play. But it was apparent that there were some issues in his game that he needed to work on to be an everyday NHL guy. And I thought, handling puck management was an issue with him. I thought was giving the puck up, losing control of the puck. And I thought, it bodes with what you're saying, Art, about what we saw from him this season. Is very good with the puck. He really did a good job moving the puck, finding an open man, doing something with it, whether he was skating with the puck or whether he's passing it. He did something with it and doing the right thing with it. So He's another guy that's really taken a step forward in terms of his NHL career. Now he fits in that category of he's got to put up offensive numbers. He's a guy out there for production. He's got to produce. Now it's because of the guys out of the lineup of late. It's been tough to put up numbers just because the lineup doesn't have the depth it normally would have. Now, if he does, I think if Hirose starts producing offensively, and I think he can, and we see it coming, he's going to be an everyday player in the National Hockey League before you know it. He's on the verge of getting there right now.
Yeah, Larry, I know we're running out of time, but my last question to you, I'm admiring all your photographs that are behind you on your in your man cave or family den, whatever it is. But I see the one, it looks like a Kings jersey. A picture. It kind of looks like Phil Esposito, and I know it can't be him. But with that said, I wanted to ask you, you've worn a lot of great iconic jerseys in your Hall of Fame playing career. Of course, the winged wheel, even the maple leaf. But really, the King's Queen Crown jersey, that has to be your favorite, right? I mean, did you know when you put that thing on that it was a Queen's crown, not a King's?
Oh yeah. The old purple and gold. I mean, yeah, it was. I mean, it was par for the course for the franchise. I mean, I wasn't there. I loved it when they wore the yellow pants and the yellow helmets at home. I mean, that was great. That was great stuff. And that's a photo. That's actually my daughter wearing the jersey. They had I don't know how long ago it was, an evening in Los Angeles where I was honored for the years that I played there. So. Yeah, that's where it all started, boy. Talk about a shock going from Canada to California. I mean, that was the first time I ever been there. It was wild times, and yet how fitting, as you point out, the Queen's crown on the King's uniform.
it was definitely. But I can real quickly, because I know we're out of time here, but I have relatives in Southern California. I would visit very often. And one summer, I actually spent the entire summer out in Los Angeles, going into like sophomore year of high school. And I was like the Kings fan because I knew that was a Queen's jersey or a Queen's crown on a King's jersey. And so I wanted to, King's crown is pointed. That's the difference. King's crown is pointed, and rounded is, I guess, a Queen's crown, and what the Kings wore. I went everywhere. I went like to Topanga Canyon Mall. We had an ice rink in the place, trying to find an LA Kings shirt. Just a shirt. I couldn't find one at all. I mean, today, you can order them online, obviously, but man, that must have been a culture shock. I wanted a King shirt, nowhere to be found, nowhere.
But you know what was fortunate about the franchise and why it still exists today, and why it's a very viable now, and a very it's worth a lot of money now. The LA Kings franchise. There was a hardcore fan base there. Of course, you had to go to page 6 to get any sort of news the sporting section on the Kings. But hey, they had those hardcore. We draw 14,000 consistently, and if there was an East Coast team or original 6, then they draw 17. It was a viable, but yeah. You couldn't find a jersey. You couldn't find anything anywhere in LA. Right. And outside of those 14,000 at the game, no one knew who the LA Kings were.
Right, yeah. I can see it now. Page 6. NHL draft was this week. Kings got some guy named Larry Murphy. Hall of Fame defenseman, yeah. Okay, yeah. Speaking of the Dodgers, but we weren't speaking of the Dodgers.
Exactly.
We're gonna write about him anyway. Larry, a man who never, ever gripped the sap out of his stick. Hall of Famer Larry Murphy, thank you very, very much for joining us on the Headliner. Really appreciate it, Larry.
You're welcome, Art, and I'm looking forward to the Wings on the upswing for the rest of this season.
Yeah, you and me both, buddy. I appreciate it. That'll do it for this edition of the Headliner, presented by Miller Lite. Miller Lite, it is the original light beer. It's only 96 calories. It tastes delicious, and it is available for delivery. Daniela, back to you.
Well, thank you, Art. And of course, another big thank you to Larry for joining us. An Art and Larry interview, always entertaining. And now we're going to get into Let's Socialize, presented by AAA. And of course, we're going to bring in Carly Johnston for this one. Carly, what do you have for us today? I know you've been scouring all of the social media channels.
Of course, scouring. So first, do want to talk about something near and dear to our hearts. and something that Art mentioned earlier, that it is National Girls and Women in Sports Day. So the Red Wings and Tigers collectively put out a post on each of their social media websites and just kind of said thank you and posted some inspirational women. We see Mainun Rayom. Am I saying that correct, Art? I know you know how to say it.
Rayom, yeah. Oh, yeah. It's playing a professional hockey game for
right,
Tampa.
and now she's leading the girls hockey organization that we have at Little Caesars Arena. I got to interview
That's
her.
right.
But just a bunch of really awesome ladies that we work with. I know one lady I work with every day. I say lady, that doesn't even sound right. One woman I work with closely, obviously Daniela, and a lot of people behind the scenes. We have Stacey Burlingame in the social media world, and just many people, Jamie Stark that we work with, Bartlett, that's her married last name. But just a bunch of different women that we work with that it's so nice to go into the offices and just see that it's 50-50 female and male. So 2021, we still have a lot to go in the world of sports, but we definitely made a big impact thus far. And then I do want to move on and talk about Dylan Larkin. I know Art's been talking about him a lot, but I want to talk about him in a different light. He brought his dog Ellie to Little Caesars Arena, and she was able to go out on the ice. Get her out there. I mean, Coach Blash just put her in at this point, Look at she's pretty good on the ice.
Do they make like dog skates? Can you get 4 skates?
I'm wondering, seriously.
You know what? She's already a better skater than Thomas Holmstrom was. I'll tell you that. So. Love you, Homer. Love you.
Sure he's watching this. All right, so moving on to John Merrill and Matthew Dandenall. As we said earlier, it is their birthday, so we wanted to give them a huge happy birthday from us here at the Word on Woodward. I know Art loves John Merrill, a fellow Wolverine.
I definitely love John Merrill. I saw him play his entire Michigan career. Did a lot of CCHA games back then. He was just a stud, high draft pick of New Jersey. But I also like Matthew Dandenau. Matthew Dandenau made the Red Wings as a teenager simply because he could skate. He had $1 million legs, and and he played forward, he played defense, he did whatever it was for the team. And I had the opportunity to go to his 21st birthday party, which was attended. I don't know how this happened, but it was someplace in Birmingham, and I was able to go. And I was sitting at a table. It was me, Steve Courtney, Chris Osgood, and Mike Vernon. And it was just, and Marty Lapointe, God bless him. Marty picked up the whole tab, and I'm talking the whole Red Wings, no game, they're a good team. The whole Red Wing team was there. Again, how I made it in there, I have no idea, but I'm so happy. It was just a great time. It was a lot of fun, and Marty picked up the tab. And I can remember Dandenau was like, because I guess maybe Marty didn't pick up the tab a lot, but anyway, it was just a great time. So, I don't know how old he is, but I was at his 21st birthday party. It was outstanding. Just a great time. And Matthew Dandenau, one of the best, one of the most decent guys you're going to meet, along with John Merrill, too. I mean, let's be honest. We talk to these guys day in and day out. Hockey players are the best. I mean, they're just affable guys. And, even when things aren't going well, unfortunately, but they're still willing to, to give you the time of day.
Yeah, well, we know John Merrill's coming back in the lineup, which is exciting. He'll be off the protocol list soon. But so we did hear, though, that Matthias Brome will be going down to the taxi squad. Danielle, what do you think about that?
Well, I actually think Larry Murphy put it very well. He's a hard worker, Brome is. And we've noticed that. We've seen him working really hard, and he has created some high-quality scoring chances for the Red Wings. The puck just really isn't bouncing his way. But at some point, like with any career, any job that you're in, if you're not producing, opportunities are going to be taken away from you. And think about it, if you're Coach Blashill right now, you've got to do something, because whatever you're doing right now isn't working. You're on a 6-game skid. You've got Adam Ernie and Robbie Fabry back in the lineup tonight, and then Sam Gagne as well. So Matthias Brome is the guy that, as Larry Murphy put it, is kind of at the bottom of that list right now. He's the one that's going to get bumped to give someone else an opportunity to try and make things work. Do I think it's the last we're seeing of Matthias Brome? Absolutely not. But I think they're trying to figure out how to make things work and how to get themselves back in the winning column and how to actually take advantage of these scoring opportunities.
Right. The situation's very fluid, and who knows, he could be up in a couple days. He could be up in Friday's game. You just never know.
Right.
And then I do want to talk about Tigers. Grayson Greiner posted that he is now heading down to Florida for training camp. And it says it is his 8th year making the trip down to Lakeland. How cool. So look at, I mean, that's not that far of a drive when you think about how long it would take for us to drive down there. 7.5 hours isn't too bad, but I'm sure he's going to be making himself very comfortable down there in Lakeland.
Hey, I would love to be in Lakeland to get some warmth. Like, it's sunny today here, but it is cold.
Right, and and what, Florida has no restrictions, so you can do whatever you want down there, right? I mean, you can breathe all over people, really. Oh, okay.
I'm sure they have to. I'm sure they have to.
Every time I look at pictures of Florida, everything's packed and people are breathing all over each other. So I mean, it's fun. Good luck down there, guys. But Grayson Greiner, I can't believe it's been 8 years too. This is a big year for him. I mean, he really has to. The Tigers keep bringing in veteran catchers, so obviously that's sending a message to him. He does occasionally hit that odd home run or two. He's a big guy. I hope things go well for him because, catching is obviously essential. And I would assume that the Tigers want to find a definitive number one catcher for this young pitching staff, someone that's going to grow with these guys and get to know them and call, balls and strikes, and, they could mesh as, get that chemistry going.
Right. That is a weak link on this Tigers team. So looking to see what will happen this upcoming season, but it is exciting to think that spring training is going to start here shortly. It's still considered spring training, right? If it's starting a little, yeah. I mean, it's not spring yet, but whatever. We'll call it winter training.
According to us, this is normal for them to start in mid-February, end of February. But for us, it's weird.
Yeah, what spring is until like March 21st, right?
Yeah, but especially in Michigan.
Yeah, it's good. It's basically winter until like May.
Yeah, we get more seasons in Florida. They don't.
Yeah, they just have summer all year round. All right, So let's move on back to the Red Wings. We know Luke Glendening was injured. He got I don't know exactly what happened there. He was up against the boards. I think maybe his helmet cut his face, but we saw him leave the game bleeding. Pretty rough. But then he came back out, didn't miss a shift with those stitches right on his face. I mean, Luke's been through a lot this year. I know before the season even started, he lost that front tooth there. I think they were practicing. And he lost that tooth. He got hit in the face. So he's been taking a beating these past few months.
You know what? Great. If he takes a couple of more stitches, he can be a character in a Tim Burton movie. I mean, Luke is really getting close, boy. That second photograph, that up close. I mean, he's a tough dude. No teeth, a stitch here, stitch on his nose.
Big hockey guy.
That's why he was captain for 2 years running at the University of Michigan. He's
he's so ultimate captain. He deserves to have that letter on his chest. And then moving on, last but not least, I do want to highlight the Detroit Red Wings now have an Instagram filter. How cool. So what you do is you can head on over to their page, and then you have to click on, there's a tab, I guess you can call it, with the filter. It's like a filter icon. I'm doing the worst job explaining this right now. But okay, perfect. We have the video. So that's what it looks like.
There you go.
So which wing are you? And then it shuffles through the lineup, and I was Brutusi. I mean, I guess I got the hair for it, but so really cool to head on over to their page, and then you go right to, I believe it's the 4th tab, and then you can just do it and see which Red Wing you are. Let me see if I can find here.
Wait, so how do I do it?
That it's this tab right here.
Oh,
with the little filter icon. So try that out. You can see that video I just played. And then what you do is you just click up top. Okay, well, you know what? It works. That doesn't help.
Wait, well, let me do it.
Do I have to hit Detroit Red Wings?
Try it. Oh, there we go. So here, see?
But I can't
show you because
it keeps just taking pictures of me. This is what I'm getting.
Let's see if I can show you guys. I don't even, how would I show you? That doesn't even make sense.
It's okay. I'm going to figure it out. It might be because I have my headphones plugged in. I'm going to figure that out. That's what I'm going to do after the show.
Let us know who you get. But that's all I have for Let's Socialize.
I'm getting Carly. I'm getting Carly.
What?
Then you have to click on Try It. Click on the Try It button at the bottom.
Oh.
All right.
Yeah,
well,
Art does that tonight.
I'm getting my line list.
Okay. Well, Art's going to figure out Instagram. Thank you, guys. Carly, Let's Socialize is always fantastic.
Great job as always, Carly.
Thank you, Art.
A big thank you to AAA for presenting Let's Socialize. AAA says thank you with free roadside assistance for first responders and healthcare workers fighting to defeat COVID-19. You protect us by going to work every day. Let AAA protect you on the way there and back. Thank you all so much for tuning in to another edition of The Word on Woodward presented by Rehmann. Empower your purpose with Rehmann. If you missed any of today's show or want to catch up on some past shows, you can check out the Word on Woodward YouTube channel. All of our interviews are on there. Or, of course, you can listen to the show as a podcast on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, or Spotify. The Red Wings will take the ice tonight against the Tampa Bay Lightning for the first game of a 6-game road trip. Puck drop is 5:30 p.m. You can catch the pregame show starting at 5 o'clock on Fox Sports Detroit. For those of you watching somewhere else other than Michigan, you can catch the game on NBC Sports Network tonight as well. We'll talk about all of this week's news and much more next week on The Word on Woodward. Catch us every Wednesday right where you're watching right now, Red Wings, Tigers, social media, and Facebook channels starting at noon. We'll see you then.